What's good, YouTube? It's your boy The D here. Coming to live for this week's Shonen Showdown. And before we get right into it, I'd just like to say that I appreciate all my subscribers. I'm only like 11 subscribers, but I don't care. I just appreciate anybody who stops by, anybody who subscribes, and hell, anybody for watching the videos. But yeah, notice this video is a little bit late, but yeah, this week's chapters, even though One Piece, I didn't notice last time that One Piece was taking a day off. But yeah, but it was just Black Clover and My Hero Academia, and boy, oh boy, yeah, again, this is coming out later than Sunday, so you should probably already know if you know. But boy, it's finna be some shit. We're gonna talk about it. But anyway, before we get right into it, yeah, your boy has recently made an affiliate on Twitch, so if you do want to interact with me outside of YouTube, the comment section, please be sure to check out my link tree in the description. It has my current YouTube that you're watching, my other YouTube, which is my Let's Play channel, my Twitch, and my Twitter. So if you want to interact with me on any of my social media platforms that I currently have for the channel, definitely hit that link tree up in the description. But without further ado, we got a lot to talk about. This week was kind of juicy, so let's get to it. Shonen Showdown. All right, and this week we're starting off with Black Clover, page 271, Union. It starts off with Nacht in his form with his demon, but we finally learned the name, Devil Union Mode, Canis. And it's funny because, you know, the way it looks, if you line up the first letter of each word, it's dumb. But Devil Union Mode itself is probably going to become known as dumb. You're going to see people abbreviating it as it said Devil Union Mode every time they're going to say dumb Canis, dumb minus, or whatever the hell the actual form is. It's going to be dumb. So it's like, you're going dumb. But anyway, we then see Asta and Leeb looking on at him, and him telling them that the only way for them to get stronger is to unite and to draw out all of the devil's Leeb's anti-magic power. We then see shadows come from the ground, which then forces them together and puts them in a blender and molds them. And there's a tail coming out of the shadow before it melds with them. So it's probably another one of Nacht's demons. But we then see Asta break out in his normal half-demon form. And he then looks around and asks where Leeb is, because remember, Leeb was trapped in the grimoire the whole time, so whenever Asta would do this, he wasn't used to having Leeb here. So this will be the first time he's ever used Leeb's power with Leeb being out. And it's then that we see Leeb call to him from over on his right shoulder. And he's tiny, he's like, in the past chapters, how you've seen Nacht's devils being their little chibi forms, we see Leeb in his. And he even says, like, he doesn't know what's going on. It looks like this is what's going to happen to him when Asta uses his power from now on. And Nacht then goes on to explain, in Devil Binding Contracts, the initiative belongs to the one giving the orders, which normally is the human. That's why he himself can unionize so easily. He can fuse with his devils easily, because their contract isn't like Asta and Leeb's. His is more of a subordinate, and him being the dominant. But Asta, they're on equal terms. So theirs isn't necessarily union. So still, Leeb's power is only trickling out to him, so it's not really the way it works standardly. And then Asta then goes on to ask how Leeb uses his real power. But Leeb says that he doesn't know. And he then goes on to explain. He was never planning to hurt Asta, but he was planning on taking over his body so he could fight. So... And he never came out to fight. He's never come out of his book, of his grimoire to fight, so he knows nothing about this. This was not the plan. So they start to bicker and, argue about the contract. But then Nacht then goes on to summon his devil. From his shadow below him, we see it split into many forms, like he's casting multiple shadows. And he tells them that they're just gonna have to learn by doing. They have to learn by fighting. He goes on and tells him that using the Devil Union lets him add the characteristics of the devil to his shadow magic. And this particular devil, Gitamolo's characteristic, is pack. So then you see all of those shadows that were coming out of his original shadow turn into a pack of sentient werewolves. Kind of in the form that he was taking. You see their collar being sort of like the collar of Noct outfit. So yeah, Gidamola is the dog-like demon that we've seen him use. So pretty much, this isn't standard with every one of his devils. All of them have different characteristics. So think about it like this. Let's say, for instance, they were different elements. Like one was ice, lightning, fire, and wind. Let's say that's not their power, but let's say that for the sake of the explanation, let's say those were their powers. Pretty much, he could add ice, fire, lightning, and wind to his shadows, create combination magics. So pretty much, these devils each have different powers. So this pack ability is one of Gidamola's powers. So his shadows can do different things that they normally probably couldn't do. Although I'm not gonna lie, this seems pretty, well, not whack, but basic. So pretty much, it seems like Gidamola's power is like multiplying itself. Which, yet again, we've seen that all the devils have magic similar to humans. You know, Lucifero has gravity magic. Some have curse binding magic. One has, I think, spatial magic. So yeah, so pretty much, this one has a multiplication magic. So it can multiply itself. So then, as Asta looks on, two horns come from below him, but he's able to dodge, and well, either he's able to dodge or it knocks him up, and then it smacks him. So he's then surrounded by the pack. And he's trying to fight it off, but and as he's fighting them off, normally, what Asta does, he can't sense magic, but he can sense keys. So he's like, okay, I'll find Vice Captain Noct using my ability to sense ki. But every single one of them has the exact same key. And then Noct calls out to them from within the horde. He's hidden himself among them. The shadows won't disappear until you defeat me. So, and Asta's thinking, like, as he's defending, he can't even tell where they are. So he then goes on. He's thinking about it. So he's got contracts with 4 devils. So I was thinking, like, he's been face to face with death, because this is not an easy process. He's done this shit 4 times. And then he goes on to think about him and Leave. Their connection is stronger than it was before they made the contract, so he should be able to draw out more power. Noct then, yet again, from within the shadows, mixed in, he tells them that you made a contract with the devil as an equal. Since he tells them, like, he further expounds, since you aren't its master, it's pretty much like in Naruto when he was going and fighting Kurama in his mental space. You have to ask, like instead of completely dominating, you have to ask. So the power isn't just available; he has to ask. So because he didn't enslave Leave, it's going to make this whole process harder. And then he goes on to say that this is the path that he chose, and that they should use that power, that determination to walk that path to defeat him. Asta affirms, and then we see him flood the katana with anti-magic, and he then goes on to utter Yami's classic phrase, right here, right now, I'll surpass my limits. And he then uses it to slash anti-magic into the flurry of beasts. And then he names the katana the Demon Slasher. And he yet again utters the phrase again, we're gonna go get Captain Yami together, we'll surpass our limits right here, right now. To which Noct, looking quite annoyed, I hate that phrase. All in all, a good chapter. I mean, we're finally starting to move forward. Like, the other chapters were good, and we're learning a lot about, like, the devil binding ritual, but still, I still think there's a lot we don't know. Now, in regards to Noct and him having the ability to use 4 different devils, all to enhance his magic. Now, because it's a training arc, I don't think they're going to show them all here. We might see, we've already seen 1. I think we're going to see 2 or 3, but we're going to see the 4th, but when we're actually in the heat of battle. Although I'm kind of leaning towards 2. They're probably going to say the other 2 for actual battle situations, towards the final fight and shit like that. I think during this, if we don't get the full story, we're going to get part of the reason why he hates Yami so much. Now, I previously said in one of these, when they were first coming to the house, that the person we saw in the flashback when I think it was Jack who recognized Noct was looking at him, and we saw a flashback of somebody who looked like Noct. I don't think that was Noct with Yami. I think we're gonna finally get a little bit of backstory, like what the fuck happened. I'm thinking that Noct's family, well, Noct had a sibling, a twin, so that was either his sister or brother, and they had something to do with Yami, and Noct probably blames Yami for what happened. So yeah, that's the thing. And I'm interested in seeing what Asta will look like once he gets more into his devil union mode. So, and we're seeing that he can flood any object with anti-magic, and when doing that, he also has the ability to store it in his grimoire. So we can see shields, spears, lances, which is kind of the same as a spear, axes, we can see armor. So this kind of opens it up so that he can add, so it's not just the Demon Dweller sword. So we have the Demon Slayer sword, then we have the Demon Dweller sword, then we have the Demon Destroyer sword. Now we have the Demon Slasher katana. So he could have a whole host of shit. Knives, kunai, like if they ever goes to the Land of the Sun, he meets a ninja. This like Asuka could be an anti-magic ninja, which will be fucking dope. But yeah, I think we're about to get I think during this whole exchange, we're going to get some more information as to why the fuck Noct hates Yami so much. Yet again, even I have to admit, and I like Yami. Yami's a kind of a cool guy, but he's never seemed like a bad person. So that's what I'm thinking. Either we're going to get like some of the backstory why he hates him, or at the very least, we might get hints of that, but how they met. But yeah, next chapter hits November 20th. That's currently, let me see, 10 days away. So yeah, guys, I guess they're on break next week. Well, fuck. Well, anyway, yeah, that's Black Clover. Art's good. I'm like I said, I'm a big Bloodborne fan, so I'm really loving Noct's Canis Demon Union mode. Interesting. So the devils each are able to add their own characters to his shadow magic. Cool. Art's still good as always. Yet again, didn't really move the needle forward on the story, but I think we're finna get, well, this chapter didn't. The last couple chapters have been kind of like backstory heavy, which is a good thing for me. So yeah, just moving the needle. Definitely not a bad chapter. Basic, but not bad. But next we got My Hero Academia, because this week it's only a double. All right, let's get to it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get to the meat and potatoes of this week with My Hero Academia, number 290, Dabi's Dance. All right, chapter opens up at Fujitani Hospital, which you should recognize, which I think it's been named before, which is the very hospital that Todoroki's mother has been at. And we see, and we see a couple of people running towards her room saying that she's been making so much progress towards her release, but now this, and they're talking about how terrible the timing is. We then hear in a bubble that a broken signal cannot get any just closer, hard to make out from this distance, and we see Mrs. Todoroki staring at the TV in her room. When we first see the TV, the person saying, "What's this? Our signal," and the signal is becoming blurry. But then her eyes open wide as we see Dabi sitting shirtless on a couch appear on the screen. We then cut back to see from a distance Giganto Machina heading towards the clearing where the battle between Endeavor, Todoroki, where the battle that's been happening with Shigaraki has been taking place. Because I'm like, okay, I don't even know who the fuck all's involved. So we then see not Todoroki, but Shigaraki in his mangled state with the spines coming out of his back, looking over. Now, his body is currently being controlled by All For One. And All For One, inside his body, looking through his eyes, is like, okay, great timing. After a beating from Izuku and a roasting from Midoriya, his body, Tomura's body, is about to fail at any moment. having Rivet Stab, which is the power that he uses to forcibly activate quirks in others, and that he's been using to stab them this whole time. It's actually called Rivet Stab, active from the spinal cord with auto tracking, reduces the burden on his body and mind. Such measures are necessary given this body's wretched state. Now, Machina must be ordered to retreat. So he's pretty much been having this shit shoot out the spinal cord to kind of like act as his mode of mobility to kind of keep him from falling the fuck apart, because he has taken an ass whooping. But then on the next panel, we see Todoroki flying using his left foot coming at him. He's then thinking there's no way we can handle fighting both that giant and Shigaraki. And then he says that he better take out Shigaraki while he's on his last leg, which is a pretty good strategy. This nigga is wrecked. He has had the shit beaten out of him. And most of that was done while he didn't have a quirk, thanks to Eraserhead's quirk. Keeping his shit like in check. So we then see that not only is he moving towards Shigaraki, but Nejire as well. She ain't having this shit. She is kicking ass. So all for one in Shigaraki's body. Then he looks like he comments on the strength of Nejire's surge and Todoroki's half hot, half cold. And it says how they refuse to give them the slightest inch, even though he's broken and battered. Nejire then cranks up her output and takes a fighting stance. She cranks up her output to 100%. And Todoroki then uses the flash fire fist technique, jet kindling, as she uses Nejire Flood, which both make contact. But then we see a bloodied Endeavor yelling run, and we have a gorgeous, I'm telling you, I love Horikoshi's art. We see Machina coming and swatting at them, and I think he actually hit them. Todoroki is sent tumbling on the ground, while Nejire is sent back in the air. Although there is blood, it looks like she isn't too badly injured, because she's still determined. So it can be said that they're not that badly injured, but that shit hurt. Then he then calls out to them, and then we see that yet again, something that I called a while back. Bakugo's not dead. He tells him to put him down, to which he's surprised that he's conscious and like, okay, take it easy. Apparently some vital organs have been hit, but he is still alive. They can probably do first aid and save him, although he's probably gonna have a couple scars, which the bitches love. But Bakugo, yet again being Bakugo, the only thing that's on his mind right this second is achieving absolute victory. He's staring on the situation. Machina then takes Shigaraki in his right hand, calling him master and telling him to give him an order. The League then goes ahead and they yell at him, not him being Shigaraki, say, hey, you're not looking so good, what's up? Endeavor then goes on to check on Izuku, who is flat the fuck out, who has not said a word and does not say a word this chapter, and Shoto, who's getting up. Yet again, they're hurt. That hurt, but luckily, it looks like they probably caught some of the aftermath. Like they were hit by his claws, but they weren't hit at the point like where the power in that swing would have been fatal. Okay, Endeavor's broken and bloody, and he's saying the hell this is all his fault. The giant is up and about. He then says that he needs to take him down, and one of his lungs was punctured by the rivet spine, but he's gonna do what he has to do, and he remembers what the things that he said when he was named the #1 hero, that he has to do it. And he remembers his position as #1 hero, and that's heartwarming and all, but unfortunately that isn't gonna last long, because then from on top of the spines, like the rock-like protrusions out of Machina's back, we see Dabi, and Dabi calls to them, oh, there you are. You all look like ants from way up here. Oh, do I spy Shoto too? That's perfect. Now, it's not far-fetched for Dabi to know Shoto's name. He's the #1, used to be #2 at the time, hero's son, and he goes to UA. It's not far-fetched for him to know Shoto's name. So then Endeavor notices Dabi, And he's thinking like, oh, fuck, now we got to deal with the entire league. But Dabi, he says, ouch, is that any way to address me? As he pours a liquid onto his head. And it's then that he reveals that his hair is actually light colored, potentially white. And he says that he has a great name. Call me Toya. Not the American Toya, like, I know quite a few black women named Toya, and I have a good friend named Toya. Hey, Toya Danny. Follow her on Twitter at Danny Toya. But rather Toya Todoroki. And both Endeavor and Shoto are fucking dumbstruck. And he says, you're really that dumbstruck? Really? I know my face ain't exactly what it used to be, but I was sure my own kin would have figured it out. And now Deku is up. He doesn't say anything, but he's thinking, huh? And this nigga does not look good. I'm not talking about Daiyu, which that motherfucker don't never look good. That's a motherfucker. But I'm talking about Deku. Deku does not look good. Which he's thinking, Toya Todoroki's brother. He then flashes back to that time when they had dinner at Todoroki's house when it was him, Shoto, and Bakugo. And they were talking about his older brother who died. We then flash back to Mrs. Todoroki's room, to where Dabi is speaking on the screen, yet again on that couch shirtless. He proclaims that he is Toya Todoroki, the oldest son of Endeavor. And he then goes on to say that he's killed 30 people in cold blood, and today he'd like for everybody to know exactly what drove him to be so evil. He says that he then goes on to say that once upon a time, Endeavor yearned for nothing but power, but when he found himself unable to pass All Might, he fell into despair. That's when his father created me, being Dabi, Toya, in his pursuit of his selfish, egotistical dreams. And we see, as he's speaking, the speech bubbles, if you read the chapter, they're over the destruction of the city. And we even see a little girl crying as we see an arm under some rubble covered in blood. But he then goes on to say he never forgot a thing, and he had plenty of reason to keep watching them. He said to concoct even stronger quirks, Endeavor forced his mother to marry him. But he was a failed creation. It didn't take long for him to reject him. That Dabi Toya was tossed aside. He says that he doesn't expect everyone to be pure and selfless, just him. And he then goes on to tell people, which it seems like this is being broadcast over multiple places. I see the kid who was talking about believing Endeavor and the shark-headed kid next to him, and they're watching. It looks like they're watching the news from the panel, but that might be a mistake. They may be hearing what Dabi's saying, because it wouldn't make sense for Dabi to do this, which I'll get into in a minute, if everybody could hear. Oh, and then it's confirmed by the long-haired guy from the Metahuman Liberation Front that Dabi's whole little speech is being broadcast not only nationwide but on the internet as well. And then Dabi goes on to say that he's having a blast, and he's like, "Wait a minute, where was I? How could I make you hurt? To best stomp all over your life. I've been pondering all this ever since that day." He couldn't figure out why he even existed, and every day he'd crawl to his brother Natsu, crying his eyes out, not knowing what, not that he ever knew, excuse me. And finally, when he achieved his little success, Shoto, he thought about killing him. But then who would have guessed? Endeavor got bumped up to #1, and suddenly he was rooting for his happiness. He then goes on to say that, okay, and let me just stop kind of paraphrasing this. Pretty much Dabi's just having fun with this shit. He's just talked about how it seems like Endeavor's changed and everything's good with Endeavor, which one day I want to do a video on Endeavor. I like Endeavor's character. I like the arc that he's going through. And he goes on to say, like, he read Endeavor like a motherfucking book. How Endeavor's been thinking, like, man, I can face the future, I can face my family, things will get better. But fuck that. He then goes on to say that the past never dies, and he intends to crush him here. He then invites them to dance with him. So yeah, the chapter ends with the horrified look of both Shoto and Endeavor. And that plane a couple chapters ago that had somebody on it who was asking it to go faster is still steadily approaching. Now look, I'm just gonna wrap this whole thing up in a neat little bow. That took the cake, because that was a hell of a reveal. Okay, and with this, let me go ahead and put this on wax and let me go ahead and just state my whole position on the Dabi thing. Now, people have thought Dabi was Endeavor's son. At least when I heard about it, it was as soon as he was on screen in the I think it was season 3 or was it 2? I think it was season 3 when we first got to see his powers, the blue flames, when they were at the training camp park. Now, as we've just seen, and that was correct. My whole thing was, I never thought that it wasn't true. We just didn't have the evidence. I thought that it was possible, because the thing is, what some people, what I've seen, at least the arguments, it was like, oh, he has fire quirk, and Darren has fire quirk, they gotta be related. No. In the world of My Hero Academia, people with the same quirk aren't necessarily related. People can have fire quirks and be related in no way, shape, form, fashion. That's cool. So pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, as far as what I've seen, that's the only piece of evidence anybody had for Endeavor, for him being Endeavor's son. Now my thing was, if you've read the manga, and if you, well, because they stopped in the middle of that chapter, after the fight with the high-end Nomu, the first high-end Nomu, when it was Endeavor and Hawks versus high-end, which I think he even named it, I think it was like Stargazer or some shit. He even went on to, not even on to say, but after that fight, after Endeavor beat it, Dabi showed up, and Endeavor saw Dabi, which yet again, he changed his hair color and everything. And people were trying to say, oh man, that's his son. My whole thing was, I'm like, okay, if that was his son, he'd recognize his firepower. Unless something happened to change the flames, or they changed over time. But I'm like, there is no fucking way your son's power could be used in front of you, especially if it's not that generic and you wouldn't know. But yet again, it's been proven definitively now. Very interesting. And I love this, because yet again, I'm ready for this to be over, because I want to see what happens after. But this throws an entirely new twist, because now a lot of the shit that Endeavor did is going to come to light. So if the public didn't know, they know now. And then on top of that, if the Hero Association or anybody who works with Endeavor who didn't say anything, that's going to cast a very long, very dark shadow over Hero Society. And that has implications. So this shit is finna go the fuck off. Like, even if this is kind of as a loss for them, that nigga still won. So that's interesting. It's very interesting to see how far Dabi thought ahead to fuck Endeavor over. And like I said, this could have implications, the likes that are going to help crumble Hero Society. Like, this is going to be something else. Because I bet you, like, kind of like how today with quote-unquote cancel culture, which cancel culture, when taken too far, is a bad thing. But what Endeavor did to his wife and children was not right in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And people are going to have things to say about it. And that's going to affect his standing. And if the number one hero has his image tarnished, he's the foundation now. And with this revelation, that pretty much destroys the credibility, the symbol of the Hero Society, the foundation. And if you take the foundation out, there's nothing for anything else to stand on. So Dabi kind of just hit them with the finishing blow. Because if this happened when All Might was still around, it wasn't his bad. All Might would be like, hey, I didn't know. Like, we got some shit we got to figure out. But now All Might isn't here. Endeavor is the number one, and he is the foundation. He's supposed to be the symbol. And this fuck up, well, this ain't gonna end well. But anyway, and to go ahead and just put it in perspective, if you didn't know, My Hero Academia takes the gold this week, and because that shit was just outrageous, and the implications and the visuals, top notch. Horikoshi did this motherfucking thing as always. And Black Clover takes the second place this week. Yet again, solid chapter. think it's about to set something up. You know, Asuka can now infuse anti-magic to weapons, so he can pretty much increase his spells whenever he wants to, which is dope. And he's probably about to get a new form, which is really fucking dope. But anyway, what do you think of the chapters? What do you think of the big reveal? Did you see it coming a mile away? And did you have any other evidence besides just, hey, Todoroki uses fire powers? If you like what you heard, please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And yet again, this has been your boy, The D, signing out. Peace.